aparecer, foi.
Bom dia, pessoal. Bom dia, olha eu. Boa noite, pessoal. A gente está aqui começando uma live do CCSP, do Centro Cultural São Paulo, em parceria com o Escritório de Quebec e com a Arte in Vitros Filmes e com a Secretaria de Cultura. E a gente está aqui com o Phillipe Lesage, que é o diretor, um diretor canadense, que está estreando com uma mostra o nosso canal de streaming, né, o CCSPlay, que vocês podem acessar pelo www.ccsplay.com.br. Os filmes do Lesage vão ficar lá por mais ou menos um mês, até o dia 9 de março. Alguns filmes têm limite de views, então vocês precisam assistir rápido. E é isso aí, hoje a gente vai ter uma conversa com ele. Aqui do meu lado está o Carlos, que é o curador comigo no Centro Cultural São Paulo. Quer apresentar, Carlos?
Não só apresentar, então, que a gente vai fazer esse bate-papo, vai ser uma conversa despretensiosa, então a gente agradece a presença do Philippe Lesage aqui, e lembrar também que a conversa vai se dar em inglês, e depois a gente vai fazer o upload do vídeo com as legendas em português. Então, dito isso, acho que agora a gente pode passar a apresentação para o Philippe. So, okay. Philippe, we made the presentation. We said that this is the como é que é estreia?
Premiere.
This is the premiere of our streaming channel. So we're very grateful for you for being here to talk to us. And I would like you to present yourself a little bit, so then we can start making questions and talk about your work.
Well, my name is Philippe Lesage. I'm a French Canadian from Quebec, living in Montreal. Director, screenwriter, and I did so far. I did 7, I think, feature films. I started with documentary filmmaking. We can talk about that later. But and then I'm currently preparing number 8, and it's a fiction film. So I'm very excited, and I've been postponing the shooting. I was supposed to shoot last summer, and but then with the pandemic and all that, we waited another year. So I'm going to shoot this summer, and I'm very happy to be here with you. And of course, I thank you a lot for this nice retrospective of some of my films. That's very nice to have the chance to present my work to people in Brazil. I'm very happy about that.
Thank you, Philippe. We are very excited to have you here. I am a huge fan of your movies. I have now with CCSPlay. I have the chance to watch some of our movies that we don't have it here. Actually, we don't have any of our movies here, but some of our movies went here with Mostra Internacional de Cinema. Les Demons and Genesis I saw in Mubi. And so, but your first movies, Copenhagen and The Heart That Beats, I saw now with the CCSPlay, and I'm very happy. And I want to see more. Let's see if we can try to bring your other movies here.
Yes, maybe with the new movie that he's making.
I'm very excited to see. But one of the things that when I watched your presentation, actually was a great presentation. I have to thank you for that video that you present your movies to our public. It was really authentic and really great presentation. And you said that you were very angry because you wanna shoot feature films, but it's very hard in the beginning. I know that because I am a filmmaker too, Carlos too, so we have the same anger. and you start with documentaries because it seems to be the
easy
your
path, né?
your trajectory is like everyone's trajectory maybe. Here in Brazil, our cinema, it's very like it's hard to get financing. So documentary, it's like a pass for us. So and I saw in your feature films a lot of echoes and resemblance of documentaries too. But I would like you, if you could, talk more about the beginning of your career, like how did you enter in the documentaries, and then that story that you already told, but when you made your first feature films with your students. It's a really interesting story.
So after film school, I came back here in Montreal because I studied film in Denmark. And when I was here, because first I did a bachelor degree here in literature at McGill University, and because I didn't want to study film right away. I wanted to explore, to be forced to read more, because I heard that in the literature programs they were forcing the students to read 100 novels at the beginning, and like I think for the first year, and so then I was very excited about that challenge and to just get myself into reading, because I know that readers are going to be the next storytellers. It's and as an artist, you need to be we are inspired by so many things, by the music, by the other form of arts, and cinema is also a form of art that was for a long time inspiring other form of arts. Now I'm questioning cinema. I don't know if cinema is still influencing other form of arts, because I can see that, and I'm very scared about that. I can see that television is now influencing cinema. So that's really strange. And I'm a bit concerned about that. But that's another story. And I came back here in Montreal, and I was very angry. I was hungry to make films, but also, like I said, a bit angry because I felt like I was totally an outsider. I didn't know anyone who did the film schools here. I was completely alone of my, I knew nobody. All my friends from Montreal, they were becoming something else than filmmakers. And so now I have new friends, but back then. But I don't have that much friends also in the world of cinema. But I don't know. That's like this. Some are very nice though. But it's just that I felt like I felt like I was a bit kind of struggling alone, and then something very strange happened, or provocating, because I always wanted to make films and to make a start with a feature film after my film school. I was snubbing short films. Maybe that was a mistake. But even if I wanted to make short films, it was difficult to know where to start, because I didn't know anyone in the film world. So after I went to see all the producers in Montreal, knocking on their doors, and sometimes saying you need to read my script. I'm not gonna leave this room before you're gonna leave. You're gonna read my script. Before after that, I realized that, well, what is the cheapest way to make films? And I had an opportunity from an uncle who was like a professor at the university in Toronto, and he said, he said, Philippe, I want to make a film about this French sociologist named Alain Touraine, and we're gonna find the money. I don't know where. You're gonna direct it. It's gonna be your film, and I will produce it. And so I started with this, and I started to do a film with it was totally a family thing. I started to do this film with my uncle, and I ended up in Paris, and And then when we were there shooting, you know, following the Alain Touraine in the la grande école à l'école des sciences sociales là-bas, we were like, you know, like suddenly there was like a riots, you know, starting in Paris with the suburbs on fire. And so I decided to go there and to bring the camera and to make it, like, and the film became a kind of fake portrait of Alain Touraine. And then I realized that it was a fun experience, and I realized it changed completely my way of seeing cinema, in the sense that because one documentary led to another, and I could do this film with no money, but it changed my perception of how I write films now, because when you're a young, because when I look back at my you know, my first screenplays after school, you know, that I was like taking to all the producers here, they're all pretty influenced by, you can see the influence of, you know, like I can see, like I wanted to do a sort of French Canadian Bergman mixed with some Tarkovsky, you know, there's nothing bad about copying sometimes, you know, the great masters. I think it's great, but it was very fiction. It was very fiction, and when you write fiction, the trap, I think, is that you start by having these images that are not necessarily coming when you write the scene from your own life experience or from something very original. They're coming from the films you've seen and the influences you had and the books you've read, and so it becomes already filled with cliches, I think, like maybe unconsciously as well. You know, you don't really need see these cliches, but when you just start to go back to the essence of cinema, the essence of cinema is les frères Lumière. It's just the way they were shooting live, putting a camera in a train station, or you know, or in front of a factory where employees, you know, are coming, you know, back home and leaving the factory after a day of hard work. You still see these fantastic images of the and they didn't age at all. It's pure cinema. It's pure cinema because it's the reality. And when you start to think and to approach fiction with that sense of, okay, let's not try to write the scene, a fiction film, you know, with the fiction narrative and the fiction rules. Let's try to do a film based on things that I've seen, things that have been like incredible story that I've heard from a friend or something that I've experienced myself. And and every time you do that, you take from your real life, for example, it's always more strong. It always turns to be a stronger scene. So if you have a couple of them in one film, because it's hard to have only very authentic scene based on your real life experience, because at some point we need to steal from, you know, from something, because maybe that's, you know, but because we have a story to tell and we decide to, you know, tell a story about this subject, or not a subject, because I wouldn't limit myself with a subject thing, but you know, with this frame, because you need a frame, this frame of a story, it would, but I realize that when you look at life, or when you also like decide to ask you you know, I don't know, the actors are doing something silly, you know, in back of the camera, and you turn the camera around, especially with kids and with young people, and you start to film that, and they're goofing around, and that can be also more authentic than, you know, you trying to write a scene. And sometimes when I, you know, the greatest compliment that I have sometimes, it's people who see a film and see a scene, or write a scene, or read a scene of me in a screenplay, and they ask like, how did you come up with this? And it's well, it's just, it happened to me. and that's it. So it completely changed the way my approach of, you know, seeing fiction, because we can be tyrannized, I think, by fiction.
Yeah, and it's so good that you said that, because I felt that watching your movies, and I think that watching your movies like in a timeline, for example, it's a very good thing for students, because I think that it's really visible your maturity, uh, and it seems that your last movies, like Genesis, for example, has more of a documentary than your first movies. So
Yes.
it's, for me, it's so strong that, because Genesis, for example, I felt that it was something that it seems that you just put the camera there and shoot what was happening. But I know that there is more drama than your first movies. So it's like a hard thing to do. That's because I love Genesis. It's my great movie from you, but I love the other ones too. But it's so good that you said that, because it's, I believe that, and it's hard to but and I have some questions about documentary too, but I don't want to ask now, because
But it's funny you say that, because in a way, Genesis is more of a construction for me. Even if I again, there's a lot of things that I took from my own life in it, but the demons and as you know, the demons is maybe it felt more, maybe it feels more constructed because it's my first film, and there's a certain kind of maybe rigidity sometimes to it in the mise en scène, but in terms of the screenplay and in terms of the story, if you
yes,
it's totally autobiographical.
yeah,
It-
and I
uh,
think that Genesis, they're more like situations that is more like dramatic situations, and Demons, it's more like I know it's slice
Slice
of
of
life, for
life.
example. Yes, so it's incredible, because at the same time, I think that Genesis is more. There's a more approach, a documentary approach than Demons, for example. So
it,
it's very hard to get that.
it's really what I look for, to have this and even if you have you come up with a very constructed, dramatic story with it's what I try to get is to that we forget that we are in some, watching a fiction film, and we don't really know where we are, because one of my best documentary film is, it feels like it's a fiction film. It's called The Shimmering Beast by Pierre Perrault, which is one of the old, from the direct cinema,
Yes.
the cinema vérité school, and it's
And
one of my.
Felipe, do you still feel like making documentaries, or do you feel that in this point in your career you're tending more for?
I'm not sure I have the patience anymore.
Yes. It's really hard.
And there's a frustrated writer in me, that of course you write your films in the editing suite when you write documentaries, but I think it's so stupid to, I mean, how can you write a screenplay of a documentary and before you start to shoot? I mean, people do that in order to get the funding, but I mean, that's so silly. I mean, documentary is about going into like a completely exploration mode. It's going to a discovery, a total discovery, and you need to open all the channels and to be completely, open. And it's not about, writing something and then, but I like the thing is that I like the writing. I like the loneliness of the writing, and I like the editing. But I always work with the same editor, Mathieu Bouchard-Malo, which is like like a brother in the work sense, and of course it's. I mean, these are my two favorite moments in the creative process: the writing and the editing, and in the middle you have the necessary evil. And
Yes.
And what is the necessary evil?
The production.
the pre-production is the worst, where I am right
Worst.
now, and where you have all to make all these completely crazy decisions about casting, and it's very and decisions that will affect the rest of your film, and there's no place for mistake. And then the shooting could be very fulfilling, very nice, but I shoot I try to shoot as many days as I can. So I'm a bit masochist, because even I find the shooting difficult. I want to have as much days as I want, so we can feel relaxed and we're not too stressful. I would say that it's I'm very happy also when the shooting ends.
Yes,
but the editing is always something that I could go back and
And I read in an interview that you like to write your scripts like if you are writing a book, for example. I'm not sure, because you don't like the script format. You like to write a script with all the mannerism of the literature, for example. I'm not sure if
I mean, my first script, I mean, Genesis was a bit written like that, I think, and but it's there's a catch to it, because if you send it to the institutions to get the finance, and I mean, anywhere, it could be here or it could be in France, or it could be also like, oh, you're telling too much and blah blah blah. You're giving too much. It's literature. It's literature, because I mean, the reality is that sometimes the people who read the scripts, their job is to find reason not to give you the money. So if you write a novel, if it looks like a novel, they will reproach it to you, and they say, "Oh, this one is written too much like a novel. It's not a film. Go back to write a real screenplay." And I was not. I mean, unfortunately, I was not being told that. But you need to be. When I write the script, I don't want to make literature, but I want to give a mood to the film, and it's not that I write long descriptions, but I've been told that my scripts are, and an actor that I work with told me recently, like, oh my God, it's so nice to read your scripts, because they're not just like, the camera is moving forward. There's never a camera indication in my script.
There's no directions.
You need to read a script like a good play or a good short story. It needs to be. I'm saying short story because it takes the time of reading like a novella or something like that. It takes the time of the film. It takes 2 to 3 hours to read. But you need to get the reader inside, and I like writing, so I like writing. I'm not. I'm maybe like a failed writer, so that's why I want to keep doing fiction, and to explore that, which is and of course it's but I like also to take risk in the sense that there will always be scenes in the film that are not in the script, and I think that script you need to tear it down also before shooting, and I really go back to the script.
So you rely? Do you think you rely a lot in improvs, or you know just the scene that you're gonna use some improvs?
I do control improv, but I like when the actors are good. Like, for instance, in Genesis, the history teacher is a flamboyant and great actor, and he did this improv for the casting, and then I said, you need to do that in the film, and he's and he said, oh, I forgot what have I done, and I say, well, I have the tape. So he saw the tape, and then he went completely even further. And when he was on the film set, he was like, like all these. There's a lot of lines that I had never written. So he's starting to talk about, the Underground Railroad and all these things. I mean, it's like, and saying like, oh, Bonnet, you wouldn't have that courage. That was not in the script. That was completely. So sometimes we have this. Yes, of course, I encourage them, but it's not all the actors who are comfortable with improv, but it's really something that I really like. I mean, Copenhagen is just improv.
Yeah.
Great.
That's the other extreme. It's only improv. Yeah.
I have
So,
a funny statement.
And did you have a script? No, sorry. Did you just complementing? Did you have a script for Copenhagen, or
10 page.
did you went without a script?
10 page.
Wow, that's
10 page.
nice to know.
I was going to tell that I have a funny statement by watching all your movies together at once. I felt like they were made by different persons in some way. And that's because they are so different from one another. And I think you already told us that you search for special moments on your movies that changes along with your life. And I would like to hear a little more about this, because I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a really good thing, that you're versatile with the language that you use on your movies. And so by improvisations, and the way that you choose them to use in your movies. So Copenhagen is a great example. And I know that Copenhagen you made with your students. Mm-hmm. That's also a thing that we didn't tell to the people, that you're also a teacher.
I was. Yeah.
You were?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. I would like to hear more about that. Do you feel that you have some kind of mark? I don't know how to say this word in English, but style.
It's not for me to say, but of course I've been told that yes, because there's things in my films that come back. Mm-hmm. I think I'm always very. I think that in terms of framing, in terms of the way where I put the camera, I'm controlling the camera, very closely. Even when mm-hmm. I've been working after with a cinematographer. On Copenhagen, I did, when I'm not in the scene, I'm filming. And also all my documentaries, I shot them. So I think there's probably that thing, that way I frame the long shots, mm-hmm. leave the camera and people, coming in and getting out of the frame, and probably the use of music, which I think it's we talk about the use of music, like it's like if it's a very common thing, but I don't know. I feel like I use it in in my way, but uh-huh. I feel it as a contemplative moment that is long, and it's a pause. It's definitely like almost like an entr'acte. Sometimes it's really like a moment of mm-hmm. So and there's of course some thematic that are because I feel like sometimes it's the question is interesting. It's a question that makes me anxious. Do I have a style? I don't know.
No, I don't mean to go all that way long, but I was hoping that you were going to tell us more about how you don't search. You kind of search for, I don't know, different routes.
It's totally true. It's totally true that in terms of, I don't want to make the same film again and again, mm-hmm. and I would feel bored. And for that reason, when I was a kid, I was a big Kubrick fan, and I think that all his films are, in a way, mm-hmm. so different from one to the other, but still a Kubrick, and still a Kubrick furnitures. And like sometimes it's just the way that his choice of chairs. It's always like this, very mid-century. It's there's a choice, but the thing is that yes, there's it comes with a necessity to make a film, and I have to live with the film for like a lot. Now the film that mm-hmm. I'm preparing now, it's been 3 years since I wrote it, and it's been the same with Genesis. I carried them for a long time. And it's very hard for me to focus and to write something else when I'm preparing this one. And I feel like I put everything in it, and I live with the film, and I feel like it's what I need to do now. It's mm-hmm. And then I wouldn't be able to go back and to do another Genesis. I would feel, I wouldn't. I don't want to do another film in a boarding school, Mm-hmm. but it's but Genesis, not Genesis, but Copenhagen. The approach of it was that I was a teacher in the film school, and then I lived a couple of a year in Copenhagen, and I was very close to my students as a teacher. The age gap was not that big when I was teaching, and then so we became friends after school, and we started to be close friends, and we were reliving all these experiences together, and I was experiencing also a breakup, with a Danish girl, and then I was kind of, and then a couple of, I came back to Montreal because I was kicked out of Denmark because I didn't have, my visa was expiring, and it's a very closed country on immigration. They're very bad. They're very xenophobic. Beside that, it's a fantastic country for other reasons, for social reasons, but not with immigration. And so I was kicked out, and so I came back to Montreal and started to do the films there. And then I was going back and forth from Copenhagen to Montreal, and so I decided to put together stories, fictionalized, and a caricature of ourselves, and with the life of of this teacher who's lost in Copenhagen after he lost his job, he lost his girlfriend, and he has to go to sleep on the couch of his former students, and that was a premise, and I thought it was a funny premise. So we did this film, with a lot of we put a lot of ourselves. Victoria Carmen Sona she was not a student of mine. She's a famous actress in Denmark. Victoria, she gave me also like insights, about her life and everything. And there was something going on before with her and Emile, the character. So I played with this, and we all played with this, and we all put up a lot of ourselves, but with this distant, bittersweet, funny, distance, because I think it's a funny film. It's caustic humor, but I think it's my most funny film. So it became a kind of very nostalgic, melancholic film about youth, and about what do you do when you're in that age where you're after school and just before entering a real profession, a real job, and all these young people wanting to make arts, and then surrounded with this teacher who's also at almost at the same point as them,
Yes.
in his life, but even if he's older. So I don't know, that was very fun to do, and it was in a way it was such a pure and fun shooting, because we didn't have we were shooting only when people were available. And so I went there first for a month, and I came back for another month, but I was there, so when we were deciding the day before if we were going to shoot, and we had to find a DOP if we didn't have a cameraman, and I asked my brother to come and also to do some shooting with me there, because he's a filmmaker as well, a documentarist. So and we were, we had like 10 different sound guys, and they were like taking from the film school in Denmark, or from or guys who didn't make the film schools, but they were passionate about sound, or guys who used to be in the film school and graduated. So it was such a fun experience, and it was like, Victoria was like, oh yeah, we need to find a bar. Oh, there's this amazing bar called Jaguar Bar just close to my place. I will go there and ask them if we can shoot there tomorrow. And the guy was like, okay, yes, you can come and shoot there tomorrow. So it was it was pure joy of making a film. What is being described as it was like in the pure essence of what we think the new wave was. I don't even know if it was as fun as that kind of chaotic, but still it managed to become something that I think works, and but yes, I want to do another one. But I'm in Copenhagen. But it's so difficult when you get when you start to have producers and money involved, and if you want to make a living, the money comes with a lot of with a structure that you need to follow, and that heaviness of having so many people on crew and to you need to fight against that, not to kill the flame of authenticity, I think.
Yes, totally. And I believe, I think that for me it's the other way, because I think that your movies are very similar. I would put Copenhagen aside, but now that you said all this story, I think it's all the same, because I feel that you have this style between improve something, but at the same time have some controls, have some control. For example, I noticed that you work with the same casting between Demons and Genesis. It was the same actors.
Some of them, yes,
some of them, and I noticed that they have the same style. They have the same. How could I say? For example, the older brother from the Demons. He's talkative. He's the center of attention. He in Genesis he has his character too. Or the younger brother in Demons, he is quiet, gentle, like observant, and it's the same thing in the Genesis too. So I noticed that it has the personality of the actor and has the character, but they are very similar. They are very different in the movies, but at the same time, there is the actor, the person that is there, that you are respecting as an individual. I think for the way that this your style, like your background as a documentarist, are working some way in your movies. So for me, is this, because I felt this when I watched your movies. Like Carlos said, that I watch your movies like in a row.
Yeah.
So do you think that you have like a lot of things that you learn as a documentarist? Do you think that you bring to your movies like processes, like for example, improvisation, or your stead camera and your long shots, for example?
Of course, like I said, it was completely influenced by, it changed my perception completely.
Yes.
And because I don't know, it's I try to that's why I like to take a lot of time also to shoot, because like normally you have like, I don't know, the normal amount of days for a shooting in a film here is maybe for, I don't know, like 28 days,
A month.
I think I had 35 for the Demons, and I had like, and I'm asking, and then I have 40 something for the Genesis, and I'm asking like almost close to 50 for the next one. I'm trying to get that. That's also a constant fight, but because I need to have this time to create if we have the dream is to shoot one scene a day, and sometimes I can manage to do that. So if you have people around a table, a dinner, I don't know, to give you an example, and you have like 2 days to shoot the dinner, I mean, of course, then you can start to explore and to and you go back with the pleasure of creating, and then you're being so well fed by your actors. I like to trust the creativity of the actors, but I sometimes also I do many takes, which is funny, because since I come from the documentary, we can think that I'm not, I wouldn't be like so much controlling, But
Yeah.
I don't do takes because I'm controlling. I do takes because it's not because I want them to hold, their cigarette this way, and then they were, not they were taking it this way, and I'm very disturbed, and it's not that like that at all. I realize also that the actors have the same they have the same there's the same trap for the actors that I was talking about when you're writing a script that you have as a screenwriter.
Mhm.
That the first reflex, the first thing you do is to recreate cliches and stereotypes that you've been absorbing, and you need to get rid of that. And the actors, they do exactly the same. The first thing that they will do is to dig in something that they already play, and they will do it again, if it was sadness of angriness, or and so you need to break this habit to go beyond the stereotype, and for this you need time. It doesn't come easily, and it's like you need to. It's in a phrase that I really like. It's a Taoist quotation. It says that the best swimmer is the one that forgets that he's in the water.
Mhm.
And I really like that because it's the way I see creation. It's the way I see acting. It's the way I see writing, and it's the way when you're forgetting that when the actor is forgetting that he's acting, and he's just completely there. That's magical. And sometimes you need to do, the repetition helps, the practice, helps to forget
For this
yourself.
to happen, yes. Can I ask you something? Did you rehearse with your actors?
Well, I tried, but I'm not a big rehearse guy because I realized that when I rehearsed, I felt like, oh, it's so natural, it's so oh, great. And then you
Mhm.
arrive on set, and then all the atmosphere is different.
Goes
You have a
away.
crew, you have people, carrying big stuff and making noise, and then you don't find what you had in the repetition. So everything is to start over. I experienced that in Genesis. So
Yeah,
I'm
I experienced that too, and I think that as long as I try to research like less and less, and I'm always I'm afraid. I want to rehearse because it's so big. Everything you are spending that money, you are working with that big actors. Then you see, no, I don't want to rehearse, but at the same time I have to because I'm afraid of not rehearse. But I think I experienced that too.
I'm a bit afraid also not to rehearse, but
Yes.
it comforts me in my choices. The good thing about rehearse is that you can always back off, and say, "What? I need to change my lead actor."
Yes, that's true.
But
It's
that's
happened.
scary. But it didn't happen to me.
You
But
did that. You
Oh,
did that
okay.
already.
no, I didn't do that. But 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 it could. I mean, it's just that but you give me ideas, because what I should do for the next one is tell my producer I will not rehearse a lot, just a couple of days. But and the money we save for the rehearsing, we
I
shoot
gain
in
more
film.
days.
We shoot in film, in real film stock.
Great,
That's a
great
great
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
Because
Philippe,
I never had the chance. I never had the chance to shoot in film stock.
so we're going to the next one is going to be film
No,
stock.
no, because it's really
Oh.
I try.
It's
I
really
want,
expensive. Yes.
but it's expensive. But it's also we're shooting so far away from cities. It's like deep in the woods.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be just a nightmare to get the dailies. But they would need to be sent by, I don't know, plane, or that's gonna be like. I'm not sure we have the means for that, but I would like to. If I could, I would like to shoot in 16 millimeters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would be
But
beautiful.
and I'm always skeptical about trying to give a film look to digital.
Mhm.
And,
No,
It's hard. Yes.
it's never done right. Something is always
it's
off.
yes, and I'm very skeptical about adding some grain, or
Yeah. I have a friend that made a whole length movie in 16 millimeters, and then they digitalized the movie. And there were parts that he added in digital, so to make compensate, he added the film grain. And a friend of his was watching the movie, and he complained about the parts that was originally digitalized from the film stock, saying that seems fake, and the parts that were added seemed real. And it was just all a mess putting it all together.
No, it's good. I'm not,
Yeah.
but I'm not a big film. I cannot be. I would like to do it, but I'm not a. I cannot say that I'm because sometimes I watch films or these old documentaries and I say, oh my god, I like the grain of this one, or I watch short films and I
It's
say, oh,
aesthetic,
I like the texture. I like
sometimes
this.
just aesthetics, but it makes pleasures.
I'm seduced by it, but I'm not convinced about people who are shooting in 35 because nowadays sometimes we don't really see the difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because of the DCP that makes everything kind of
Yeah.
So I'm not that romantic about it, but
yes, and I think I think it could be hard to film, like for you maybe with your improvisation style, the way that I
number
believe
of
that
days
yes,
of
just
shooting.
like shoot a lot.
Absolutely,
I think it will be hard for you.
My pleasure when I'm on a film set is that I feel like that the camera is rolling. So even if I do 30 takes, at least if the camera rolls, I'm a happy camper.
Digital. Yeah,
because and because I want the time on the film set, dedicated to filming. So I always end up with hundreds of lots of
material.
hours of material, and that's really fun. I would feel it would be completely changing my approach of filming a lot and having this documentary style and let's do the scene now and forget the dialogues, and we're just gonna film a bunch of people.
You would be more anxious this way than
because what I like to do when I film also, what the documentary aspect of it is to go fishing. And it's like you have a room, I have people, I have actors, they're mixed up with extras. For instance, the party scene we see in Genesis, and that was so fun too. There was I didn't care about the lines. The lines were not that important in that scene. So it was just like having this atmosphere of a basement party. That we don't really. It's a scene that I like also because we don't. This can take place in 1950, 60, 80, 90, 2020.
And I love your music choice too.
Yes, this is something I have to say. It's very nice. I was watching the movies and my mother knew all the songs and she started singing along with a lot of the songs that play.
I love the decade that you choose there, your music, like between 80s and 90s. It's really good.
Yeah, it's some song from the 50s and on the party in the basement, like from but that was just the kind of the shooting night I love, because I was just there being a documentarist with something that is completely real, but everything was set up. But they really had a good fun. I tell you, the young people during that scene, they were like, they had fun. They were kissing each other. There were some couples, started, and it was fire in the air. It was really great.
Yes, that's great.
Felipe, você quer fazer uma, depois eu faço?
No, actually, I think that I was because there is a question.
Okay.
But faz a última pergunta. You can do the last question, and then you go to the question.
I have a question about the title of the showcase that I know that you really.
I would ask that too.
Didn't agree so much that
no,
we call
it's not
it
true that I didn't agree.
No, he agreed. Yes.
He agreed, but he said he found surprised by the title.
You find interesting.
I was maybe a bit slow because it took me a little time to understand it.
Can I explain then?
Yes.
I will explain.
But I think I got it, and I think it was brilliant.
I write it down here.
I think you explained me after, and I got it. But tell me, explain it to
Yeah, I write that down. I write the following passage. I think that was a joke with the title, because that was a perception that your teenagers are always in this passage, in this rite of passage, to an adult world that they don't understand. They are curious, they look for it, but at the same time, it's adult world that punished them, that embarrassed them. Like that's a word that punishes them in order to accept them. Like it's a tough, frustrating passage. For example, there's Charlotte on the Genesis, for example, when she chooses to live a more independent love, for example, and it's hard for her when he changed that. She goes to another. She wants to be free in love, and suddenly he suffers. He has to be punished to be an adult. Or, for example, the younger brother in the beginning of the demons, for example, when that girl said, he forgets the pencil.
Yes.
And she says no. So the adult world is always very, very tough, very hard to them. But at the same time, your teenagers are like going searching, going to this adult world. They wanna go. So that's why I think that the secret life of adults is something that when you are a teenager, you look for the adult life, something like secret, something that you want to go, but you have some fear, you don't know what you're going to find. So
you want to hear my interpretation of your title?
Yes, I want to know.
Because the secret life of adults, what I think was very interesting, that made me think of, I mean, your thoughts made me think about this, which I never thought about it before. In the films, the young people, and they are expressing, but it goes along with what you're saying. They are expressing emotions and feelings and fears that adults don't allow themselves to have, but they hide. So therefore, the secret lives of adults.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, I like that, because it's I could like just do a joke. It's like I was this, and then people will be interpreting.
Because in a way that in Genesis, for instance, what I really, my characters, I've said that before, and in some Q&As, is that I admire them because they're not afraid to love. And what is difficult when you grow up, it's because everybody's been hurt, in love, for instance, and or been somehow punished, and it's to be able to have this pure art again. It's very tough. It's very tough. It's you can get into, I don't know, comfortable life, or there's a lot of traps when you grow up. But and that pure love, that pure passionate love, can be, of course, a bit destructive. But what's the harm when you're young, and when you're older, the harm are maybe a bit more scary, but still there's something to learn from those characters and those teenagers, that we should keep on being, open to different experience, and to love again, and to because it's a continuous movement, and it's the same movement, and it's the same, it's the same person. We try to control the teenager in us. I think sometimes it's good to control the kid in us because kids are like in the demons sometimes, behaving so sociopathically. So they're totally sociopaths sometimes, but because they don't know the difference between good and evil, and their empathy is very small. So I think that sometimes there's a lot of grown-ups also that you can see that they have a huge problem because we say, oh, they're like kids. Yes, they are like kids because they have no empathy. They just care about, I want this. And so that's not, I don't, I'm not like, oh, childhood is so beautiful. I think childhood is terrible. And it's so lonely and it's so sad and it's
and kids are mean.
But teenage years, it's where you start to. There's a lot of good intention there, and there's a lot of good things, and it's the only nightmare with being a teenager is that you're often badly surrounded, by the wrong people. I'm not talking about influence, they will make you take drugs or something. I'm talking about you feel bad with them because you have nothing in common, but you want to believe that you have something in common with that bunch of jocks or that bunch of girls that I don't know where and what, and then you need to find out, and at some point you find out the people you're good with.
You are fighting to be accepted. I think
exactly.
When I look to my teenager years, I said, "Oh, how could I do that? Because I want to be there. I want to be that person. I want to be with that person, with that people. So I have to be that person."
Exactly. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question from people that are watching?
Yes, from the commentaries.
Course. Do you know how to do that? Carlos, to push
wait a moment.
The question.
Here.
Can you read it?
Lesage, you said you studied cinema in Denmark. Was there any influence there working with the youth universe, incentivized by Danish Film Institute and its cinema culture?
You said this study in cinema. Was there an influence by the fact that I studied in Denmark? No, I mean the Danish thing is is more like when I finished university here, I wanted to go for a crash course, and I found out that school called the European Film College, which is not. I didn't went to the Danish Film National School. I went to that European Film College, and I was there because we were in the end of the 90s, and I was completely. I was just, we were in the middle of the Dogma 95 thing, and I just saw The Idiots and The Kingdom and Breaking the Waves, and then I discovered this very, very inspiring director, Lars von Trier. And it had a huge, cinephilic impact. It changed my life because, I went to Denmark to study film because of this guy. Wow, basically, that's the reason why I went there. The youth in cinema is just that. I mean, it's something that I maybe have the maturity to talk about, what I experienced 20 years ago, and not the maturity to do films about what I'm experiencing right now as an adult and as a grown-up, So I really like that period for many reasons, because I just think that, like I said, it's the pure arts make good, stories, because it's the life of 1 year in the life of a teenager. It's equivalent of 3 years, 4 years of an adult, in terms of intensity and transformation, and it's it's a period of your life where you're asking so much questions about myself. I was so much asking me questions. It was nothing was defined, and I didn't want to fit into some sort of category. And where do you stand? I didn't know if I preferred boys or girls at some point. I was completely not knowing myself and trying to. And I was also raised in a period. I had my youth in the 90s. There was a lot of good things in the 90s. But on that level, it was very bad, and so there was a lot of in the school where I was, I had but yeah, I have to. There's a when I said there was in my presentation that you were talking about before. I'm talking about revenge, but of course I'm having a revenge over some period of my life by sometimes making films. I go back to where it hurts actually, and back then there was a lot of in the 90s there was a lot of it was filled with a lot of you need to be a man, and men to it's like this. If you want to be a man, you need to fit that model. So I'm hesitating to use that term that we use too much now, but there was a lot of toxic. But but we overuse that word, so I don't want to use it anymore. But it's completely there in Genesis. It's all over the film.
Yeah,
and but I didn't want to make a film about that. But it turned out to be naturally about that, because I was exploring all these this problematic with being young and trying to find your voice. I think that the problem of fitting the conformity against being yourself, it's still there. It's still there. The young people, they are still living that. It's not about necessarily like having a struggle between their sexuality, because there's more openness. Still, I think it depends on which country you are, and it depends on which. So I don't want to it could be very difficult for some people as well. Yes. But still, there's a conformity also right now. That there's a sense of conformity that I feel so strong, with and it's no more cool to be a rebel without a cause. And I think that's maybe a little problem. It's nice to be different and to be against the system. And now I don't think this is the cool thing, and I'm a bit concerned about that. So yes, I think it's just. But my next film is about the adults, but it's really about the adults stuck with some teenagers in a cabin in the woods for some time. So it's both the perception of a young person, a teenager, but looking at the adults. So it's even more there, and the oppression, and also the good aspect and the bad aspect of adults. It will be very present. So I'm getting there, because I don't want to do the same film all over again, and it's gonna be different. But yeah.
At the same time,
I don't know if I answered the question about the Denmark, but Denmark was not like something where Denmark for me was an opening about. As when I came there, it was my early 20s, and before that I was a huge cinephile, but my influence were majorly American films. It was Coppola, it was Scorsese, it was Kubrick, it was Woody Allen, it was De Palma, it was all these guys. Okay, and then I discovered Lars von Trier, and then at the school I discovered Bergman, and then I discovered Tarkovsky, and then I discovered, wow, this is European cinema is actually better than what I I was no longer into these violent films that I was such a fan of, but it's very normal also for a teenager to like violent films. Yeah. I mean, I understand that but still, it opened completely, changed completely my perception of film, and then I just then what I decided to do films about was really inspired about my preoccupation and will at the moment where I wrote the films.
Dogma 95 has a huge impact.
A huge impact, yeah, the whole world.
It did. It changed everything.
Yes, it was really great. I was a kid watching VHS, getting VHS in in how they call locadoras, Carlos?
In video, like Blockbuster video store.
Like
Not,
Blockbuster video stores. They have
no?
the Dogma, some of titles, not all,
Yeah.
but a couple of titles of Dogma.
That's why I saw most of the films that had a huge impact in my life. Was like first getting VHS, then getting DVD. We had a very nice here in Montreal. We had a very nice back. It's closed, of course, sadly, but we had a very nice, a video store called the Black Box, La Boîte Noire, and it was like the films were put by directors. So you could
we had like 2001.
That's so fantastic. I mean, how can you find this now? You want to see all the Kiarostami on one line and all the European like North Europe, Scandinavian cinema, and then you had all it was
I wanted to work in a videolocadora just to do that, to separate by directors.
Yeah, there was some sort of curation.
Yeah.
They were separating by countries and by director, and they were some directors had more films than some others because they liked them better.
Here in Brazil, it's always by gender, like comedy, drama, never directors.
Do you still have video stores?
No, not anymore. But we had one like this black box that was called
2001.
2001. That was the most close to find different kind of films, but anyway, not very carefully managed to separate by directors.
But here we have a problem that like big cities has this, but when you go to the country, side country, it's really hard. I came from side country, so it was hard for me to get good titles in VHS because the stores are very like small with blockbuster titles, like American big titles, just that.
I know, yeah. And now, a little girl in the middle of a shitty village can see a Antonioni.
And now we just like premiered our channel, but Brazil, the whole Brazil can watch our movies like this. It's very incredible that
they can discover a lot more
you,
than,
for example,
big names. That.
Philippe, I want to thank you your presence. It was really a pleasure to talk to you. You are a very nice person and a great director.
Thank you very much.
It was a really pleasure to work with you in this showcase.
Yes, and we hope really to see your next movie here in Brazil.
Yes, here in Brazil.
We're excited to see.
I would like to come. I would like to come.
Yes, maybe in the next São Paulo International Film Festival. Demons come. I remember that I watched your movie in São Paulo International Film Festival, Demons, and then I watched Genesis in Mubi later.
Okay.
So,
but I don't think I was. I don't think the film was selected. I don't think I was. Are you sure that Copenhagen, A Love Story, was not shown at like?
No, it's no? Copenhagen. I don't know. I remember Demons. Demons came in. I think it's 2018. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can check for you later. But I remember that I watched Demons there.
But I really hope to be able to come and to present my films in Brazil. That would be really, really great. And seriously, thank you so much to organize this. It's an honor for me to have this showcase. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. I have to compliment like our partners. It was Quebec Burial. How they call Aqui in Brazil, it's Escritório de Quebec. They help us a lot. São Paulo, Centro Cultural São Paulo, of course. A Secretaria de Cultura e a Arte in Vitro Filmes também. They help us a lot. So I'd like to
Thank you.
compliment everyone.
Yes.
And thank you, Philip. And
Thank you very much.
I hope to see you again. Bye bye.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
absolutely. I hope so too. Thanks. Bye bye.